This is my presentation on social media addiction. So, throughout this presentation, I'm going to discuss positives and negatives of social media addictions throughout the parents' and the adolescents' viewpoints. So starting out with just positives and negatives. So some positives of social media are you're able to stay in contact with friends and family who live far away. For example, one of my friends who I was very close with up until 5th grade moved to Switzerland when I was going into 6th grade, and I've kept in contact with him throughout all of these years via Snapchat, and we're actually going to see each other this summer, so I'm really excited about that. But some other things that social media allows you to do is people with strong social skills usually use social media to keep in touch with friends from school or express themselves via Instagram and YouTube. Moving on to some negative social media facts. So the New York Times reported that during the COVID pandemic, YouTube and Facebook percentages of usage were both up, with YouTube being increased by 15% and Facebook by 27%. Overall, throughout the pandemic and post-pandemic, teens have averaged about 8 hours and 40 minutes of screen time per day, and of that, about an hour and 30 of that is used on social media. So, of the 62% of the teens that were in this survey that I was looking at on Healthline, about 34% of these teens said they use social media a lot. So some drawbacks to social media: while some may find it beneficial, social media for adolescents with depression can be very harmful. They are at a higher risk for cyberbullying, fluctuated mood states, internet harassment, and have heightened suicidal risks. I got this information from pediatrics.jmir. It can also be a huge distraction for people spending mindless hours scrolling on TikTok, for example. So YouTube just introduced something called YouTube Shorts, and Instagram introduced something called Reels a little while ago. And both of these are basically TikTok sections integrated into both YouTube and Instagram. So you can scroll and scroll and scroll mindlessly on these videos. Both of these apps, along with TikTok, have made tons of revenue and have increased their viewership and usage because of these new features. Overall, it's just a huge distraction. I feel like for me, I use social media to keep in contact with people. I'm really not posting on my story on Instagram, or really just like in general. I use it for contact. If somebody is DMing me on Instagram because I don't have their phone number, I'd like to respond, obviously. Or if somebody's texting me on Snapchat, like, I'm gonna respond. But overall, I feel like I use my phone and text messages more than... So, moving on to what parents versus adolescents think about social media. So, I've talked with my parents about social media. My dad's on Facebook and LinkedIn. My mom just recently got on LinkedIn. And my grandma is on Facebook, but other than that, nobody else in my family is really on social media. Overall, they just kind of see it as a distraction and an escape from the real world. They kind of just see it as dumb, which, like, from their generation and their perspective, like, I can see that. But for me and my generation, like, it's a tool. It's something you can use the correct way, and you can use it to keep in contact with people and to network and to meet new people, or you can mindlessly scroll on TikTok. And there's really those two paths. There's not really an in-between. So an example given by Pediatrics JMIR was that adolescents with depression seek social media to use support from either friends or just getting that quick escapism for a couple minutes. And overall, the parents of those adolescents are more stressed with the negative impacts of social media, the chance that they see harmful content, and overall, I feel like there's a good balance. There needs to be a balance. There needs to be set limits for especially people who are depressed and are actively on social media. Like, you can't just be scrolling through TikTok for 6-7 hours a day. Like, you need to set boundaries. So personally, that was some of what I think about social media. But overall, I feel like for adolescents, this is social media was created by our generation and it was designed for our generation with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and everything that came after it. And overall, it is a way to connect with people, to meet new people, and to stay in contact with people who are far away. And it's also reached into the other side of technology, which is gathering information. Google is a huge search engine, and it's in the palm of your hands. You can look up anything you've ever wanted to know. That has now been introduced with social media. You now see Instagram has a whole shopping section. So along with their TikTok section, along with just the regular Instagram stuff, you can also now shop for stuff and search for stuff. But overall, what I've gathered through my research is that creating a balance of your time with social media and away from social media is the best way to live a healthy life. And you can do that by asking questions and overall just setting time limits on what you think is best for your own mental health and for those around you. So just a final thought, social media, it really can go one of two ways. Social media can either enhance your life or it can take over it.